Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to Two Vintage Sports Guys. I am your host, Joe Rendacci. I have a very special guest today, podcast host today, Mr. TJ Rives, who does a litany of things, which he'll go into here. He's the Tampa Bay Bucs sideline reporter. He does 80s and 90s movies podcasts, and I'm going to let him go into a little in depth on it. Welcome, my friend.
Listen, it's good to, are we vintage already, or is this like a trial? Is this a tryout as to whether I'm vintage or not? I'm just curious as we
Well, I
begin.
don't see gray hairs on you, so I'll be the vintage
No, you
guy
see
with gray hairs.
you see lack of hairs on me as we do the video hookup. So thank you for having me. Yes, I probably have too many hats. Buccaneers radio podcast, the 80s and 90s movies podcast that you referenced is called We've Seen That, the website and the podcast. And I just had twin 18-year-olds graduate from high school, and we're dealing with that at the time that we're doing this. Other than that, my friend, I got nothing going on right now, but I appreciate the invite to hang out with you.
You got plenty of time. All right, let's run through this. So we're not going to do the normal sports jargon today. We're not going to talk about what happened and Game 7 coming up with OKC and San Antonio, which should be great. We're not going to talk about the Knicks losing Mr. Finger there to make that an interesting series. Let's talk about things that live forever and ever. Sports movies. We're going to build two sports. Mount Rushmore is here. My four versus your four. And we will deliciously argue why each of us are
deliciously. Correct. Okay, go ahead. Yeah.
Deliciously. Can you tell I'm Italian, and food is always involved there? So
yes.
All right, here we go. So I will start with my first one. You can debate it. Then we will move to your first one, and we will go from there. The first one is baseball. And how could you think of anything else other than Major League? Right? One of the greatest baseball and I believe sports movies. Just a few things from it. The director, he was a Cleveland Indians fan, and he felt the only way he would ever see them win was to fake it and make the movie.
Well, and as it turns out, they were lovable losers, and then it's almost like art imitated life, because then the Indians actually shortly after that got good and actually did make the World Series. So he maybe spoke it into existence by making the movie.
Well, and to that point, right, the owner in the movie wanted to move the team to Miami. And what happens 4 years later? Miami, the Marlins, become an expansion team that win their first World Series in '97. And who do they beat? A heavily flavored. I'm still talking food. A heavily favored Cleveland team. So that's
exactly right. It is ironic. I love your choice. It's not on my Mount Rushmore, but I love your choice. And in particular, for all of the anecdotes that you see, right down to Corbin Burnson as Roger Dorn, the infielder, saying, I have my contract and I don't have to take any ground balls in practice and I don't have to do any calisthenics. And Lou Brown, the manager,
we get a urinalysis at that point.
Urinates right on the contract. And you know that is a story that the producers and the writers got straight out of a Major League Baseball manager-player dispute. That's exactly where they got that. So you love those different things from this movie.
Was that actually what they do, what they ad lib is always the best. Like, one of my favorite things is Clu Hayward, right? The big Yankee hitter is actually former Brewers pitcher Pete Vukovich, which you remember, right?
Yes.
So you go get a pitcher who never hit a home run in his real life to play the slugger on the Yankees.
Of course.
Apparently he was such a trash talker that he ad libs, to me, one of the best lines that I used forever and a day on my friends. How's your wife and my kids? That's his own line.
Well, you actually want to reveal something here that I did not know. 37 years later, I did not know this. I knew that they had some challenges, but you have a specific note about a challenge with Wesley Snipes where the producers and the director of the movie had to fake it till you make it with Wesley Snipes, right? As a baseball player.
Yeah, he couldn't throw a ball. So there's no film scenes of him throwing a ball. He could run. He makes his little basket catch, right? But he can't throw a ball. He's got that Chuck Knobloch syndrome thing.
It's not. Now he could run. Willie Mays Hayes nailing the gloves up to the wall for every set of stolen bases, or every stolen base in a game. He had a set of gloves up on the wall. And you also know it's an antidote when he popped the ball up on the infield and did the push-ups, because every time he popped it up from then on, they said, you're going to owe me 25 or owe me 50 or whatever it was. And you know
Yeah.
that came from a game where he pops it up and starts doing the push-ups. So much great stuff where, they call Tom Berenger's character Jake in the Mexican hotel with the broad and the sombrero on, and he thinks it's a prank call. And he's answering the phone the whole bit. And then they call Lou at the car dealership where he's working, and he says, this is Charlie Donovan, right, with the Indians. Do you want to manage the Indians this year? I don't know, Charlie. I got white walls coming in. So I like
Holy
your
crap.
choice.
That's a good
Yes.
impersonation.
I try. That's why I do an 80s and 90s movies podcast. But in any event, I'm propping your Mount Rushmore selection for Major League. So I give you a nod for Major League. It still works. It works 30, 40 years later.
And really, is that movie without Bob Uecker and his just
absolutely not.
They just let him go. Like half
and
the
a lot of it was him writing in and ad-libbing a lot of what you hear. And the fascinating thing is, obviously he had risen to prominence around that time with the sitcom Mr. Belvedere, the character comedy show. But he is probably best. This probably supersedes not only Mr. Belvedere, but the Miller Lite commercials. Like Joe, I must be in the front row. This supersedes it. Him being Harry Doyle in this movie, the announcer, and he is tremendous in that role, and he helps make the movie. I totally agree.
Yeah, and I'm not going to end just on this. The writer, director, he didn't even know that Uecker was the Brewers radio broadcaster for 20 years when he asked him to play the broadcaster.
How about that? Probably just knew him from Mr. Belvedere.
So we'll end on that. I have not changed your mind to put this on your Mount Rushmore.
That is not on my Mount Rushmore. I have my 4. I'm not saying who's right or who's wrong here. I'm just telling you, when you pin me down, I have 4 of them. And I can see where you would put Major League up there in terms of sports comedies. I've got a sports comedy coming on mine. I got to go right away when you hit me with this topic. The number 1 sports movie for me forever, and here it is now almost 50 years later, is Rocky, the original. Sylvester Stallone with Carl Weathers, Talia Shire, Burgess Meredith, and Rocky, the original, Rocky and Apollo Creed fighting for the heavyweight championship of the world. It's a story that is born out of the kind of everyman Chuck Wepner, literally coming out of nowhere to fight Muhammad Ali in the mid-1970s. And Apollo Creed, Carl Weathers' character, is obviously taken at that time frame from Muhammad Ali. But the story is an amazing story that Stallone wrote. He starred in it, and it gets me every time, Joe. Da 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 da. And he's running up the steps.
The theme is great, right? Yes. Any arena you're in, when those trumpets start blasting, like, you get up. But tell me this, because a lot of this is in hindsight. This is like hearing a great song that you can't really listen to anymore because you've heard it ad nauseum, like Bohemian Rhapsody and on and on and on. Right. Is Rocky the first one to you special because it kicks it all off, or you think it's the best of all the Rocky movies, hands down?
I think both. It is the one that kicks it off, so it's special for that reason. And I think it is the best because Stallone never knew if they were going to make another movie. Right. I mean, he was not guaranteed that there was going to be a 3-picture, trilogy of this. And the massive success and the fact that it won the Academy Award for Best Picture is what spawned, okay, we need another one back in those days. And I'm not saying that the second one and the third one or even the fourth one aren't good, if not tremendous. They're really the ending of the second one on how he wins the heavyweight title, which for those that aren't that familiar with the film, the end sequence was brilliantly written and choreographed by Stallone. It's his ending he came up with, that they would knock each other down at the end of the second movie. The end of the first movie is Rocky has lost the decision controversially at the end of the 15-round fight. And now there's the impetus, big word for your podcast. There's the impetus to have a rematch. That's the second movie. And the second movie ends with him winning the title, with he and Apollo Creed both knocking each other down. And the slow motion scene of them going down and struggling to get up is all about struggle, and it's literally like about a 30-second scene for the 10 count. And you can hear the announcers in the background. If neither man gets up, it's a draw, and Creed is going to retain the title. And there's the refs going 6, 7, and they're showing the cutaways. Get up, get up. That's the end of the second one. But I'm just saying to Joe here on the Two Guys Vintage Pod, there is no second one if the first one ain't great, baby.
Oh, absolutely.
The studio doesn't
and then
ever
you don't
make
get 3 and 4 and 5 and 106 and 107.
You said to me before we began, I got to talk about Thunder Lips at the beginning of Rocky 3 and Mr. T and the whole bit. So you favor the third one more than the first one, is what you're saying.
Yes. It's almost like a cartoon that is just so deliciously, evilly, deliciously good. Like I mean, that launched, right? Hulk Hogan and the whole 1980s, which I used to watch twice a day on broadcast TV at 16 years old. I used to hold up a silver foil outside my window to try to get a signal from Connecticut while I'm in New York
to get the TV.
A third episode of wrestling, of WWF.
By the way,
Mean Gene Okerlund and Jesse the Body Ventura.
The WWF. Fun fact: he had started as Hulk Hogan. He had not become ultra famous. He wanted to do the movie, and Vince McMahon Sr., the father. Did you know this? Do you know this? Vince McMahon Sr. fired him from the WWF for going to do the movie because he was going outside of their contract, their business. He was out of the WWF for like 60 days because of that till they finally worked it out. And part of that was, oh, by the way, he's really ridiculously famous now that he's been in Rocky 3, and you can parlay that into big business for the WWF, and they did, and the rest is history. Yeah. But how Thunder Lips got fired, Joe, for being in
that's
Rocky
in the
3.
whole. Did you watch the whole miniseries on Vince McMahon? They cover that.
Yes, exactly.
That was really good. So let me ask you this. Yeah, 3 is my favorite movie, hands down. A little bit cartoonish. The fighting is not real, obviously, from the amount of times they get hit in each other's head, and they just keep. I mean, the whole thing. You accept it for what it is when you walk into the theater. Who is your favorite? I don't want to say villain. Who is your favorite fighter that Rocky fights through the whole series?
I would
just you could say
I would defer to Carl Weathers as Apollo.
As
Apollo. Now, Mr. T plays the role tremendously, and Stallone very famously discovered him as a bouncer at a bar. They were at a bar. They were doing some kind of site checks of different places where they might want to shoot, and that's what. And he had done some kind of tough man competition. The actor that played Mr. T. And is Mr. T by the stage name. And so he's menacing as the villain. And Dolph Lundgren is menacing as the Drago villain as the Russian. Another fun fact. Another fun fact, Dolph Lundgren of Swedish descent. Dolph Lundgren spoke 6 languages, none of them Russian. And he's off in Drago in the fourth one. But Stallone said this when Carl Weathers passed away a couple of years ago. He said, when we went to audition for the Apollo Creed character, the Muhammad Ali type character that we were going to have, and Carl Weathers walked in the room, he said, I saw and sensed greatness. He goes, and the man began to read for the part, and I'm looking at the other producers, and I'm going, he is Apollo Creed. It's him. And so can you consider him a villain? I don't know how much of a villain he is, but it's a great counterpart to Rocky. He's the heavyweight champ, and he is so burdened by the fact that he did not decisively win the first fight. He's got to convince Rocky to fight him again. He's got to insult Rocky, and they fight again, and that makes the second movie, and that starts the whole franchise. So I put that one on my Mount Rushmore. Rocky.
And who wins the third fight between the two of them?
Well,
that it takes 30 years to figure out?
Yeah, well, remember they end with the painting, right? With the image at the end of Rocky 3 of I thought you said you got over this. I lied. Oh, you lied. And they have to go. They have to get in the ring and try to settle it themselves quietly away from everybody. So.
And who wins it? We know who wins it only 30, 40 years later.
What's the revelation? Because I don't even know that on the fun fact, because I never got into the Creed movies. But
and you would have to have watched the first Creed movie for Rocky to admit that he lost the third bout.
Yes, to Apollo in
Yep.
the trilogy. But that is my first one on my Mount Rushmore. So where are you going next on your Mount
Okay.
Rushmore
Well,
after you
you
went Major
didn't
League?
convince me to put it on my Mount Rushmore. Maybe on my Mount Rushmore souvenir in the gift shop of a little mountain, maybe Rocky Trill,
All right.
maybe the whole Rocky series would go on there. But
All
good
right.
work. Good work with that. All right. Where I'm going next after Major League, that's my first. The second becomes sticking with baseball, the Bad News Bears. Now, I gotta say, you know, this all becomes personal to us. When this movie came out in 76, I'm 8 years old. I'm in Little League. And the,
Hopefully you were not allowed to see it as an 8-year-old. Were you allowed to watch that movie as an
oh, I
8-year-old? You
saw
better
it.
not have been.
Yeah,
Oh my
my
God.
family took me to see everything. I saw Animal House 2 years later at 10 years old. My grandfather took me to see it, and
Now
I've
we're
never
beginning
been the
to
same again.
understand more about Joe's problems, and it's his upbringing of 45, 50 years ago. Continue on about the Bad News Bears.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, there's just so much with this. First of all, this is Quentin Tarantino, Kevin Smith, Philip Seymour Hoffman, one of their favorite films of all time. And we're only talking the original. The two sequels, Breaking Training and Go to Japan, crap.
Yeah.
The what Billy Bob remake, crap. We're talking about the original movie, which was filmed with what a handheld camera at most points to give you that feel that you're on the field, that you're actually there. And again, if you're a guy or even if a girl and you were playing Little League at that time, this was just, it meant that much more to you. Okay. So that's what I'm leading with. And then if you look at it, it was written by, you know who it was written by? This
I
was
do
written
not.
by Burt Lancaster's kid. Right? So a
Wow.
little nepotism there to get it in. And then they had Jodie Foster was originally cast as Amanda to play it. Christy McNichol auditioned for it, right? All the little stars at the time. And even Sarah Jessica Parker interviewed for this. Uh,
Wow. Yeah.
right?
But ultimately,
And
Tatum
ultimately,
O'Neal. Tatum O'Neal.
Tatum O'Neal, right? And her father, Ryan O'Neal, just coming off of Paper Moon at the time. They made that. Her career wouldn't really go anywhere after this. And I think what you would call Buttermaker, played by Walter Matthau, was kind of winding down at this point. And I think what was interesting is, and Vic Morrow, you remember Vic Morrow, who's the
Yes, the
opposing
actor.
coach?
Yes.
He would die in that horrific helicopter crash for the Twilight Zone movie about 5 years later. And
Yep.
so every time I watch it, I kind of, you can't not think that as you're watching this. But and do you know who Vic Morrow's daughter is? Jennifer
You-
Jason Leigh. Never really knew that.
Really?
Yeah.
Listen to you being a vintage guy breaking news to me. Now, I have to
Yeah.
say, I did not get the chance. Southern upbringing. We haven't talked about this. Son of a Baptist preacher. I was not watching Bad News Bears in the 1970s in the theater as a little TJ. But years later, obviously, it's on cable. It's on HBO. It's being replayed. I've seen it. I've always loved it. Pop quiz. Buttermaker's occupation. What was he doing before he was?
Cleaning pools.
He was a pool cleaner. I love
Yeah,
it.
it was cleaning
Uh,
pools.
Cleaning pools, you got to love that. And a tremendous story about how he turns the ragamuffin team with the sponsored uniforms from a bail bondsman, Chico's Bail Bonds. We love that code name in all walks of life. So I give you another nod. You go back to back baseball comedies on your Mount Rushmore. I went
Yeah.
much more serious with Rocky. You've gone light with
Hey, I'm
both of
trying to
yours.
keep it light. And I will just finish with this. To me, it always comes down to music or even themes in movies, right? We talked about Rocky,
Hmm.
that theme, you hear those trumpets. Bad News Bears, when they start playing the Carmen operatic music,
Yes, yes.
there, there's nothing like it to me, right? To those scenes. So,
Oh my God. And they're going to have to go shake the Yankees' hands after they lose. Uh,
and yeah,
and, and
just
Tanner
like your
says,
Rocky,
we'll get you,
I'll do a little
we'll get
parallelism
you. What is
here,
it? What is it? We'll get you next year, you damn Yankees.
right? And to your point, just like your Rocky, they both lose, right? Usually the heroes win.
Yes, good point. Yes.
They both lose this, And really, a movie filled with kids was not a kid movie. They curse all over the place.
Of
They're
course.
racist. They're raunchy.
Kelly
It's
is
like,
smoking during the movie. Yes, there's all kinds of things that are going on in that movie.
all right.
So
So you liked it, but this is not etched
no,
onto your
no,
Mount Rushmore
it
either.
is
It's in the
not. It
gift
is not
shop
Mount. It
somewhere.
is not TJ Mount Rushmore movie. So
All right.
vintage guy, you have gone two comedies, and I'm going to go back to another dramatic movie that is. It's probably of the one of all of these that we're talking about, the one that I've seen the most in part or whole, and that's Hoosiers. That's Gene Hackman. That's Dennis Hopper. That is Barbara Hershey. And I agree with the former ESPN personality. Now he's on The Ringer with all of his podcasts, all of his writing on ringer.com. Bill Simmons called it the most uncomfortable kiss in the history of Hollywood cinema is Gene Hackman kissing Barbara Hershey in the cold, dark cornfield for Hoosiers. Hoosiers is on my Mount Rushmore. It's the second one I'm going with. It is actually based on the true story of the 1950s tiny town of Milan, Indiana, as Milan won the state championship in the classification years where everybody played in the same tournament. The little schools all played the medium schools and the big schools, and the little schools never won. They never did anything in the 1940s and the 1950s, but then suddenly this Milan high school from the tiny town ended up winning the state championship. So the story is based on that, with Gene Hackman as the coach, with Dennis Hopper as a former player in the town who has now become the town drunk, and Hackman attempts to befriend him. You've got Barbara Hershey as the educator and one of the prominent teachers at the school who does not like Hackman from the word go. And Norman Dale's the character, the coach. He doesn't like Norman Dale at all. And so you have great antagonistic between him and her. And she's kind of a second mother overseeing the star player, Jimmy Chitwood. Chitwood is not playing basketball, but the whole town believes he's the key to winning. You have all kinds of storylines. You have great 1950s uniforms and ugly tennis shoes and the whole bit of Indiana basketball. And I like what you said earlier, the score, the music in the movie, the hair on the back of my neck, Joe, is standing up right now. Just listening to those songs, the 80s synthesizer music and the whole bit as the tiny fictitious team, Hickory High School, goes on to win. Of course, in this case, the Heroes win the state championship. The Milan team won the state championship. So Hickory, the fictitious team, goes on to win the championship on the last second shot by the player that they had to convince to come play on the team. So many great scenes, so many lines in that movie. I got to go Hoosiers on my Mount Rushmore.
I respect your craft and your love of the art, and these are two fine movies.
Yes.
To me, it's a little slow. It's a little bit of a snoozer. I'm not feeling it etched in my heart as you are. I respect everything you say. And if I think of the number one thing I think of every time I think of this movie is, what year did it come out? 1986.
86.
What and who won the 86-87 NCAA men's basketball championship?
Indiana.
I mean, how does that happen?
It's poetic.
How does that happen?
All right, I'll tell you a couple of other.
You should remember from that corner baseline shot, Keith Smart hitting that shot, right? I could still see it.
Indiana defeating Syracuse, as a matter of fact, for the national title. Okay, so to back up for the movie, a couple of other fun facts, because again, we did Hoosiers as well on We've Seen That they did an open casting for the players that you see, and they wanted people that had basketball ability. You mentioned Wesley Snipes earlier in our conversation, couldn't throw a baseball and they had to hide it. They wanted guys that could play basketball, not necessarily actors. They figured we can teach them the lines and teach them how to act. This is a lower budget movie on how to do that. So there's only one character in the movie. He's also in the movie Bull Durham, who had been an actor, and he had acted in a couple of other things. And he is playing Shooter's son in the movie, who's very conflicted because Norman Dale is helping Dennis Hopper. Hackman's helping Dennis Hopper, but the son has no use for the dad. The dad is a drunk. He doesn't want the dad around him, whatever. That actor is the only one that had really been an actor before this. And another fascinating nugget is the actor that plays Jimmy, the heroic character at the very end. He almost, because of how long the line was and how long it was taking to do the player auditions, he almost left. He almost didn't stick around because it took a couple of hours to work your way through the line to then come in and audition because they had hundreds of guys trying to audition to play the basketball players. So the lead character, Marius Vilnius is his name, almost left the casting call, and he would have never been Jimmy Chitwood. Somebody else would have had to have been Jimmy Chitwood. So the movie, I love the movie. Not just every March, but I'll watch it on a random night in the summer or in the fall or whatever. I've probably seen part or all of it 100 times. Give me Hoosiers on my Mount Rushmore. Do you want any more trivia or you want to move on? You want any more trivia?
I got one more. It's a trivia question for you. So
hit me.
Gene Hackman plays Coach Norman Dale, but Jack Nicholson wanted to play this role, but he was serving as a witness in a lawsuit, and it's sidelined him for 6 months.
That Colonel Nathan Jessup from A Few Good Men, you can't handle the truth, was almost Coach Norman Dale. You're right. That's who they wanted. Do you think
it would have been better or worse with Nicholson?
Worse. I think Hackman plays it perfectly, and I don't know that Nicholson would have played it as well. Maybe he would have. I don't know. How about this?
Let's flip that. Do you think Hackman could have played Nicholson in A Few Good Men on that stand just as well?
Possibly, but not as good. Not as good. They both work separately well. How about this fun one? If you ever see Hoosiers again, for the audience, not just for Joe, do you know the montage where the team is coming together, starting to play better? And Shooter is now on the bench and he's dried out as an alcoholic, and the team is starting to click, and they're winning a couple of games, and the music is playing, and they're showing slow motion shots of them making baskets. And then they're showing a slow motion shot of the bus ride with the caravan at night with all the lights on, and they're showing them on the bus. And it's just a music montage that's going on for about 90 seconds. If you're not ultra familiar, I just described it to you. If you get a chance to see it again, there is a cutaway where Hackman is sitting on the bench for the game, live action scene. They're showing the simple little cutaway, and he turns to Dennis Hopper and he says something. And they both start laughing, and it doesn't fit, Joe, but they left it in the movie. It doesn't fit. Why are they laughing in the middle of the basketball game during a music montage? Do you want to know, on the two vintage guys talking movies, what they are joking about? Because both actors confirm this.
Well, I absolutely want to know now. Tell me.
Hackman believed the movie was going to tank and was terrible. And he had gone through a divorce right around 1985 or 86 and was having money trouble. And he knew Dennis Hopper and his career was in trouble. And he looked at Hopper watching these scenes, and he finally just said to him, I don't know if you're well invested or not, but this movie is the end of our careers. And that's when Hopper starts laughing at him. He's making a joke. This movie is the end of our careers. I can't believe
that. That's a great story. And I can't believe that two legends, well, you're telling me, broke in the summer of 85?
In the mid-1980s and 85 and 86, Gene Hackman absolutely verified I was having money problems. And he goes, I know Dennis was having to make this movie, and it was a low-budget movie, and it was so disjointed to them on how it was being shot and being done that if you ever see this again, now look for the Easter egg. When they show that montage scene about 45 minutes into the movie where the team is coming together, that's the joke that they're laughing about over on the side.
I'm going to have to Google or YouTube that scene.
And the movie obviously goes on to massive success, nominated for the Academy Award. It actually won, I think, an Academy Award for the music, or it got nominated at least for the score. And every March, it means college basketball. I'm such a college basketball fan anyway. It's tremendous. So Hoosiers is number 2 on my Mount Rushmore. Where are we going next?
That's you have a very monumental Rushmore so far. I've thrown 2 comedies basically at you, and I'm going to go with a third. Here we go.
All right.
My third one, we'll finally switch in sports over to football, and I just love The Replacements with Keanu Reeves and Gene Hackman.
Gene Hackman as the coach.
Back in the story here. And a whole bunch of Jon Favreau and on and on and on. And me, and again, I think movies can become personal to us. There was a little period in my life that there was some things going down, and I just went home every night and I watched this movie for about a month straight every night, and it just made me laugh. It's not meant to do anything more than to
And
put a
and again,
smile.
they pulled stories. They pulled stories from players. Remember they had replacement players in the NFL
Right.
in the late
80s.
1980s
Yeah,
because of the
87.
NFL strike, the player relations strike. They actually
Yeah.
used replacement players, and so that's where the idea behind these are guys that are now everyday guys that have played some football that are now going to be the replacement players to get out there and go play. So
Yeah. Yep. And if you look
I
at
have
some
to
of the
confess, it's not one of my favorites. It's one that I've seen some of. I saw it all the way through like once. I love
you got
Hackman in so many things. I love Keanu Reeves. I love Keanu Reeves. Excuse me. I love the storyline. But if I'm picking football movies, I've got another one on my Mount Rushmore coming up in a few moments. But I can appreciate the fact that you enjoy Hackman and the replacements.
and again, I love some of the back bits for this. I mean, Keanu Reeves, he gained 23 pounds for this, and he's playing a former Ohio State quarterback. And you know what's that's the same backstory for another movie of his, Point Break.
Point Break. He's the former Ohio State
What is it,
quarterback.
Johnny
Johnny
Utah?
Utah, Special Agent Utah, with he and the
Right?
late Patrick Swayze, that he is a former quarterback at Ohio State in that movie as well. Phenomenal movie, Point
And
Break.
they
It's not,
said he played well enough that the Ravens offered him a tryout that year, and then they went on to win the Super Bowl 6 months later.
and how about that? And the replacements right around the same time as the Matrix movies as well,
Right.
in and around
Exactly.
where
I,
he's
I
making
think
those
he
movies.
filmed them back to back before Matrix really was a huge hit at that point. And I
Yes.
think his only other really endeavor was what? Bill and Ted a few years
Bill,
earlier. He was
Bill and Ted,
right.
and he actually made a couple of other movies in and around the 1990s. He was, and then he became much bigger of an action star in and around and off of this. And now most everybody knows him in the present day for these gory, horrific, over the top movies, the John Wick series, with all the sequels to that. But yeah, it's a fun movie to go back and laugh at all of the football and the anecdotes and the cheerleaders and the, and the whole
I'm going to
thing.
give you just a few crazy behind the scenes facts. There's a guy in it who, Earl Wilkinson, wears the jersey named Smith because he's trying to hide that he's a convicted felon in the movie, right? And he's a great player. In real life, the actor who played him was actually convicted of a second-degree murder in 2016 and
Oh my
sentenced to 40 years to life.
God, he's actually now legitimately in prison.
How is that when life
So that is
imitating art?
life imitating art, absolutely, on the replacements. That's an
And
outstanding fun
also,
fact.
let's stay in jail. Gary Glitter's Rock and Roll Part Two, you know the song, right? They play it
Yes,
everywhere.
yes.
Um, he was convicted on child sexual abuse and attempted rape in 2015 for 16 years. So it's just
Yeah, there's some sad footnotes. And by the way, Hackman made this movie around a couple of his greats. Crimson Tide on the submarine with Denzel Washington, where he's the sub commander, and they're having the argument on whether they're going to launch a nuclear warhead against
right.
the Russians. Phenomenal. He made that before this. He also made a great movie with Will Smith, Enemy of the State, a
That's a
dramatic
great
movie
movie. That's
about
great.
the surveillance program, the United
Yep.
States surveillance program, and he's playing an ex-CIA agent who's hooked up with Will Smith trying to help. They're trying to help each other and they're trying to stay alive. And I
Yep.
believe he may have made Enemy of the State right before he made the replacements and put the fedora hat on and like the old time football coach. It was
Yeah.
right around the same time.
Right. He was
Yes.
supposed to be Tom Landry basically in that movie. But yeah, Enemy State was a great movie. And wedged right in there, The Birdcage with
Yes. With
Robin
Robin
Williams in
Williams,
it.
Nathan Lane, and Callista Flockhart, and he's playing the bombastic conservative senator who actually has to end up escaping from all the media by dressing up as a drag queen in the punchline at the end of the movie. And you will never listen to Sister Sledge and the We Are Family song any other way other than remembering Gene Hackman and Nathan Lane and Robin Williams in the Birdcage at the very
Straight in
end.
heels. All right, so I'm going to
Tremendous.
end mine
I
on a
want you to
third
meet.
kind
Wait,
of
wait, wait. I want you to
consecutive
meet.
comedy. That's
I
that's my third one, and we move it to your third one, which will
Yes,
be
I'm going to go comedy. I can't let you just have the entire
Welcome to the
show.
Party, pal.
All right. Yes. Okay, John McClane. I'm going to go backwards to 1980 and the all-time golf outcast, country club outcast movie, Caddyshack. And it still works for me as we're doing this now in the 2026 calendar year. This still works for me 45 years later. Now, country clubs aren't what they used to be anymore with the elite of the elite walking around and keep the riffraff out. But this is a whole anti-establishment golf comedy on these people don't belong in a country club. And actually, a lot of the stories and the anecdotes are what actually had happened with country clubs. So Chevy Chase, Bill Murray, Ted Knight, Rodney Dangerfield, and on down the list in Caddyshack. It still works all these many years later for me. Dangerfield with all the one-liners. Wang, it's a parking lot. I think this place is restricted, so don't tell them you're Jewish. So, I mean,
Well, the whole movie's ad-libbed, right? You've watched the documentary based on the making of it, and it was just one big coke-fueled party.
Correct. And
that
then
was
wait a minute.
Supposed to be about the caddies.
Yes.
They just had to cut away from it because they had no room for that story. Pretty much.
It just basically turned into an anti-country club establishment movie that basically had no script. Like the famous scene where Chevy Chase and Bill Murray are together and Bill Murray's giving him advice. It literally said on the script, Carl and Ty talk. That's all it says. And the rest that you're hearing is them just riffing. And by the way, they were arch enemies when that movie was made.
I know. I saw that in the documentary.
Chevy Chase had been on the first season of Saturday Night Live and was hated. And he had actually come back to guest host and gotten into a fist fight with Bill Murray during the week during rehearsals. And it was well known they did not like each other and were arch enemies. And they kind of came together in that scene and in this movie and buried the hatchet figuratively. So it works for me with all of the different stories. Miss it, Noonan. Miss it, Noonan. Noonan. Miss it. Miss it. We all quote golf and quote the lines from Caddyshack and love it.
If you took one person out of that movie, and it would be nowhere as great, who would that be?
I think that's got to be Rodney Dangerfield as Al Czervik. It's got to be him. You could take. Ted Knight is maybe second as Judge Smales. It's easy to
He really is great as the foil.
When your ship is coming. I know the whole poem. And you think you got the stock market beat, but the man worthwhile, Joe, is the man that can smile when his pants are too tight in the seat. Oh, he says something. So you could probably do without Judge Smales, Ted Knight, but he's the perfect punchline for everything they're doing. And Dangerfield is just great. I got this putter from Einstein. The man made a fortune in physics. Boom!
I think the funniest thing is this was really Dangerfield's first big movie.
Yes.
And every time he would come on the set and do his lines, nobody would laugh because they couldn't because they're filming. And he thought he was bombing and freaking out. And they had to talk to him and say, we can't laugh, Rodney. Like, we're filming this.
We can't use the take if we're laughing behind the scenes, even though they were cracking up. He had done one movie before where he had done a couple of scenes in the movie where they told him, stand over here, say this line, the whole bit. But like you said, when we meet his character and they pull up to the country club and he's got the Asian gentleman with him, Wang, that is all him doing his comedy act. He is saying, hey, Wang, it's a parking lot. And he's saying, I'm going to put condos over here. And he goes, and I need 6 of those golf balls. I need 10 of those naked lady tees. And what about this hat? You get a bowl of soup with this hat. And he looks over at Ted Knight and says, but it looks good on you. And he winks at it. That's all ad lib. That's all Rodney doing his act. So Caddyshack, phenomenal. It never won any awards except for maybe Razzie Comedy Awards. But it's a raunchy 80s early comedy movie centered around golf that still works. It goes on my Mount Rushmore.
And I will give you a golf clap, ironically, for putting it up there. Even though I don't put here's some like crazy stuff. I don't put it on my Mount Rushmore of sports movies because for some reason, and this is crazy because Bad News Bears is Little League Baseball, I don't attribute it so much to golf for me as just the country club and the comedy. I get how you have it there. But yet, if I was to tell you my top 5 movies of all time, this is one of them.
So you don't put it on the sports movies, but you have it on the all-time movies. Okay.
I absolutely do. It may be the funniest comedy to me of all
By
time.
the way, let's just say this because we talked about sequels and I know you want to move on. Should never, ever, ever have made Caddyshack 2 with Jackie
And
Mason and
absolutely.
Dan
Absolutely.
Aykroyd. Complete debacle, disavowed, should have never been made. It goes right up there with making like Grease 2.
Oh my God. You just nailed what
Yes.
I was going to say when you were
Yes.
done. And every time I have the conversation of best movies that never should have made a sequel, it's always Caddyshack and Grease.
2, correct. Caddyshack 2, Grease 2, and there's probably a couple of other ones that should not have made a second movie, but those are the 2 at the top of the list. Just leave the classic alone. Don't go make the second one or the third one. All right, give me one more on your Mount Rushmore of sports movies, then I've got one more before we get out of here.
Yep. I'm going to finish with moving to another sport, which I am a big hockey fan. I think there could only be one movie if you're talking hockey, and that's Slapshot from 1977 with Paul Newman and the Hanson brothers. I was at a game the other day, and somebody is walking around with a Chiefs Hanson's jersey still.
Yes, love it.
50 years later.
But did he wrap his hands in the tinfoil like the twins with the glasses?
He did not.
And the it works as a minor league hockey comedy, and here again they're getting anecdotes. I'm sure the producer, the writer, anecdotes about the minor league hockey and all the different pranks and all the different stuff they're doing. And Paul Newman, who knew he could skate and could play hockey? He was such an iconic movie figure. Now I have to confess to you, I don't have a lot of knowledge on that one. I've watched it some. I've watched it all the way through once. It's not a go-to for me the same way, but why is it a go-to for you? What makes it on your Mount Rushmore?
You know, that is a great question. And again, being that they took me to movies I shouldn't have seen, I went and saw this in 1977 in the theater too, right? My parents and grandparents should have been investigated in hindsight. But hey, right? Like I'm here now discussing great movies. But he was, first of all, Paul Newman was 51 years old out there on ice in the summer of 77, which just, again, another golf clap for how he could go out there and do that. I mean, the Hanson brothers, right? You're talking guys, they're not actors. They're playing in the WHA, right? Minor league hockey. They could barely act, but they're the stars of the movie, right?
They're
works. Bob Uecker from Major League.
Yes, it works. Yeah,
they
because
steal the movie. They used the F-bomb was dropped 74 times, which was a record at the time of release.
Which, by the way, in the 1970s, that was a much, much bigger deal with vulgar language, etc. So, yes.
And I actually didn't realize this until just the other day when I was researching this. One of my favorite Christmas movies now is Christmas Story with, Peter and the mother, Melinda Dillon.
Melinda Dillon
is nude in this, and I never realized it was her until I read it and had to go back.
And then she's the mom in A Christmas Story.
Yes,
as Mrs. Parker.
They offered her a different role in the movie, and she goes, "F no, I want to be in bed with Paul Newman. I don't care if I'm nude." I'm sure Joanne Woodward, Paul Newman's wife, loved that, but hey, right? Like,
and Paul Newman was such a big deal, obviously, in the 70s, especially with making all these movies, the 70s and then into the early 80s, early mid 80s, still making movies. Ultra cool. And yes, Slapshot, I'm going to give you a nod. Slapshot works still.
Before we jump to yours, I have a question because I didn't put it on my list, even though it's one of my favorite movies of all time with Paul Newman, Color of Money.
Yes. Amazing.
I mean, well, is pool a sport? Do we put that in as a sports
That could
movie?
be considered. I mean, it's a billiards or pool movie. Now, the interesting thing is that he is the Tom Cruise character in the original Color of Money, which what is that? Jackie Gleason with
Gleason playing Minnesota Fats, the hustler from 1961.
Yes. And then as it turns out, the young, brash, arrogant pool player played by Paul Newman ends up getting his hands broken in the original movie by the mob guys and by whomever. So it's wild to go back and watch The Color of Money, which is made I believe it's made right before Cruise makes Top Gun. He makes The Color of Money.
That's a great lead in. It's actually right after,
It's
because
right
I
after.
think you and I discussed
Oh,
this.
we have the foot. Okay, but hold on. Hold on. We
Yeah,
have the footnote on this. So
yeah.
in The Color of Money, Newman is now in the Gleason character role of he's what, Fast Eddie Felson or whatever, and
Yep, Fast Eddie.
he's gonna teach Cruz's character. And what's Cruz's character's name, Joe, as a pop quiz? Because it's on his shirt in the entire beginning and middle of the movie.
Vincent Lauria.
He's Vincent, and it says Vincent on his shirt.
Leave it on.
And
Leave the shirt on, Vince. It's a nice
yes,
touch.
and so yes, he's Vincent in the movie. So it's interesting that Paul Newman was that cool post Slapshot, post name one, Absence of Malice, and all these
Yep.
other dramatic movies he's doing, including The Color of Money. After that, and so then you and I were going back and forth off the air. Color of Money was after Top Gun, and the giveaway is how and why. Go ahead.
Because in the elevator scene, his hair, which is short in Top Gun, is longer in the DA style Italianism that I know well in that movie. So they had to do that. And I believe Kelly McGillis, as we spoke about, had already dyed her hair for the next part.
She had dyed her hair red for the movie The Accused, which won the Academy Award for Jodie Foster for Best Actress, and Kelly McGillis got nominated for Best Supporting Actress, by the way.
Right.
And they had already finished shooting Top Gun, but they wanted to shoot a couple of extra scenes, and so she came back with red hair, and they put it under a Top Gun hat in the elevator.
Yep.
And Cruise, you're telling me, was probably shooting at that time The Color of Money as Vincent with the long hair.
Yep, exactly. You nailed it. That's it.
And by the way, Cruise is in another scene with Anthony Edwards as Goose with the long hair when he's sitting on the couch at night, and Goose comes to him and says, I don't know what's going on with you chasing ghosts up there, chasing your dad. I don't even know if we're going to graduate here from Top Gun. And Cruise's hair is Vincent hair from The Color of Money while they're sitting. How did we digress? Oh, because I'm with
because
you.
I said, is that really a sports movie? If it is, that's on my brush.
But it's a sports movie because he's trying to learn how to win all the pool championships legitimately, not just hustle people. There's an actual tournament, an actual competition, and what a great ending where he's now Eddie Filson, Fast Eddie, is now back, and he's going to go take Vincent down somewhere down the road in a competition or in a game.
So I will tell you this, because I saw this movie many, many times in the summer of '86 in the theater. And every time when Fast Eddie breaks the brack and he yells, I'm back, and the screen freezes and the movie's over, there's at least 5 guys that would stand up and scream at the screen.
Oh, yeah, and applaud.
You can't end it like that. You got to tell me who wins.
But I've always believed this too, that filmmakers want you to decide how the movie ends. And so it's a great way, obviously, to end that, where I'm back and I'm going to go chase Vincent down. I'm going to go find him. I'm going to go chase him down. All right. So
I had an
recap
asterisk there. I'm going to keep it off my Rushmore, and it'll stay in the gift shop.
Oh, no, stay in the gift shop. What are your 4? Recap your 4.
So I recap mine as basically these are all comedies.
3 baseballs, right?
Well, we went with Major League, right? Obviously a comedy. We went with Bad News Bears, that I would argue is more of a dramedy, drama comedy, but it's a comedy. Replacements is definitely a comedy.
Football, right?
And then Slapshot.
Slapshot hockey.
It's another dramedy. It's not a complete comedy. Caddyshack is a complete comedy.
Oh, absolutely, over the top.
Right.
So I have gone boxing with mine,
right.
And then I went forward a few years to basketball with Hoosiers. I went backwards to Caddyshack. Now I'm going forward to the year 2000, and give me the Oliver Stone, made up from whole cloth, kind of mocking NFL movie, Any Given Sunday.
I hate this movie.
You hate it. The A-list cast of Jamie Foxx and Dennis Quaid and Cameron Diaz and on, Lauren Holly as the football wife. The Al Pacino character is amazing. I love Pacino and everything, but I love him as Tony D'Amato, the coach. Jim Brown in the movie as the defensive coordinator. Does anybody steal a scene more than Jim Brown stealing the famous speech before the playoff game? Pacino always has to give a big speech in his movies in the 90s and the 2000s. But he's giving the speech, you fight for that inch. You got to fight for that inch. And Jim Brown is standing over by the wall with his arms folded, with the sunglasses on inside, saying absolutely nothing during that whole speech. And Joe, he makes that scene because everybody now sits up and pays attention to Coach D giving the motivational speech. And Jim Brown's character is standing right there, arms folded. I can see it right now in my mind's eye. Arms folded, sunglasses, hat on. He's like, I'm believing in this too, standing here and watching him motivate them. So I love Any Given Sunday. It's not based on any former anything, but they pull a bunch of stories out, like Lawrence Taylor hacksawing a car in half. That's based on a true story of what one NFL player did to somebody else's vehicle. And a lot of innovation with the video and the different stuff they did. So you apparently hate this movie, but it's going on my Mount Rushmore, Oliver Stone and his football masterpiece, Any Given Sunday.
So what do you love? I guess what I find it to be more style than substance for me. And it just, for some reason, it didn't hit me right. But what did hit you right
the
about
cinematography? The cinematography, the live action. I mean, he was utilizing cameras inside the helmet, the movie camera, where you could see in a couple of scenes that LL Cool J, the running back, who's running around, they're using that camera and he gets hit and gets clobbered, or Jamie Foxx is running around as Steamin' Willie Beeman and he gets clobbered. The shots and the cinematography, they painted up old Texas Stadium instead of Dallas Cowboy colors, and they made it red, black, and gold for the Dallas Knights. The way the movie was shot, the premise that the Miami team is looking to move, and Cameron Diaz is the jilted daughter of the former owner who's now deceased, and she was never appreciated by her dad. Remember, she was always trying to please and impress her dad, and now she wants to move the team out of Miami. You had all these different storylines, and Dennis Quaid.
You're saying why? I'm gonna tell you why I didn't like it.
Go ahead.
242. You know what that number is?
That's how long the movie
was.
Oh my God, yes. It's almost like a miniseries.
I cannot sit in a theater past 90 minutes.
Well, it is long, and they're trying to tie in about 8 different storylines, because Dennis Quaid's character at the same time frame is playing like the Dan Marino character of the Miami Dolphins. He's at the end of his career, and Jamie Foxx's character is going to replace him as the young, brash, black quarterback at a time period when there weren't a lot of black quarterbacks in professional football. And Stone is playing off that and the race angle off of that. It just works. I know people have knocked me forever that, like, Remember the Titans as a football movie is a so much better movie. And there's probably 2 or 3 other ones that we could quote or go over. Brian's Song, the Brian Piccolo story with James Caan and Billy D. Williams. But this one with the A-list cast, the cinematography, it works for me. I put it on my Mount Rushmore, even though you disagree. There's number 4 for me.
And I respect everything you said. What I would give a little shout out to, and I've talked about this on other sports podcasts, is The Longest Yard with
Burt Reynolds.
The original. I just love that movie.
Yes, it works. So, the prisoners playing football, and Burt had so many movies he was hitting with and rolling with in the 70s, and that's another one. But, like, I have a relationship with Barry Switzer. Barry Switzer is now 87 years old, believe it or not, still alive, 87 years old. Switzer is doing the commentary for that playoff game with Oliver Stone. And Switzer told me, he goes, it was interesting. He goes, they brought me in, they're paying me to do it. He had previously been the coach of the Dallas Cowboys, and they had won a Super Bowl. He had previously been, obviously, the coach of the Oklahoma Sooners, and they had won national championships. They didn't really have a script. They were just kind of going off of what Oliver Stone wanted to do, and they were giving some comments. And so he said, I was really only there for a couple of days. He goes, but I did get to talk to Al Pacino. And I said, okay, you got to tell me more about that. And he said, it's interesting. He goes, I met him in the hotel lobby. We were just standing around, a bunch of us, and we sat and talked, and he wanted to talk to me about having coached a little bit in football. He goes, but then we talked for almost 2 hours, Switzer said, about our kids, about life, about getting divorced, about losing our money. He goes, we talked about everything but the movie or but football. And he goes, I will always remember how down to earth and what a real guy Al Pacino was, because we didn't talk about the movie and we didn't talk
Right.
about football. So
Yeah.
any
I
given
guess we
Sunday
forget
on
that
my
they're
Mount
people.
Rushmore.
Yep, we forget that they're just people. Like when you said about Gene Hackman and Dennis Hopper being broke and just talking about it, we forget that they're actually just, they're people, right?
That is
And
true.
like I just watched, and we'll end it after this.
By the way, how are we doing
Martin
on
Short documentary.
How are we doing on our podcast that was going to go 20 or 30 minutes? Have we approaching Oliver Stone in 242 yet?
Yes,
no?
we are. We're close to it.
Okay.
Yeah,
you
no.
said,
what I was
you
going to
said,
say is, if you didn't see there's a Martin Short documentary, I
Yes.
think on Netflix or something.
yes.
Watch it. It's pretty good. It goes back to home movies of him inviting everybody to his house with their families. Tom Hanks, Rita Wilson, Steven Spielberg, everybody just sitting around like playing cards and cooking hot dogs like regular people, right? So the whole point of everything we're saying, they're just regular people, right?
They
Let's
are.
never forget
Like,
that.
let me give you a famous story, because there's a football player. I won't go into all the details, but there's a football player, and he grew up in Los Angeles in the affluent areas and was playing in private school. And then he eventually played at Cal and played in the NFL. And he told this story. He said, I was in youth sports, and he goes, we lived right near Chevy Chase and his mansion. And Chevy Chase had a young daughter, and we were playing co-ed soccer, and I'm on the team with Chevy Chase's daughter. And he goes, and this is the honest to God truth. He goes, we're in like first or second grade, 7, 8-year-old soccer. I still remember this. And he goes, Chevy Chase's daughter had no clue what she was doing. Didn't know what she was supposed to do. Just knew, stand over here and maybe kick the ball if it comes to you. And so she's standing around, and he goes, remember, we're like 7 years old. He goes, we're running around her. We're doing whatever. And at one point, somebody kicked the ball, and it bounced off of her, and it went in the goal. And when it did, Chevy Chase ran on the soccer field in between all the kids, picked his daughter up, and started kissing his daughter and running a lap around the field, holding his daughter up because Joe, the ball had bounced off of her into the goal. This is the story he told. So to your point, they are real people. We have to come back to, in a lot of ways, they're odd, they're ultra rich, they're different, but in a lot of ways, they're just like us, being a little league parent or being a youth sport parent of a little kid. And he did a victory lap with his daughter in a youth soccer game with dozens of other adults around and whomever around. He was just being dad in that moment. The guy that's in my
And that's all his
Mount Rushmore.
daughter knows him as, Dad.
Yes.
Not Chevy Chase, not
True.
Caddyshack, not anything else. And we will leave it on a happy note like that. Well, my friend, I appreciate your time today. I appreciate your Rushmore. And anything you want to say to the audience on your way out?
No, listen, I enjoyed being here. Rocky, Hoosiers, Caddyshack, and Any Given Sunday for me on the Rushmore. I would give Major League like an honorable mention. I love Tin Cup as a golf comedy, romantic comedy.
We didn't talk
Tremendous
about that.
movie with Kevin Costner and Rene Russo. I could probably sit here and give you 7 or 8 other honorable mentions, but you only wanted 4. So I gave you my 4 on my Mount Rushmore, and I appreciate your 4 with the comedies that you have. I went a little more serious with Rocky.
You did. You went a little more cinematic, and I respect that. But when I think
a
of
little
what
more
brought a
of
smile to my face, that's what I
Stallone,
had.
yo, my 2 turtles, Cuff and Link. And the dog's name in Rocky, which was his real dog, by the way. Dog's name was Butkus. Butkus, after Dick Butkus. And that's Stallone's real dog in the original, again, low budget movie that he was having to make. He's running through the streets with Butkus. Hey, yo, Butkus, let's go. So listen, thank you for having me. We'll do some vintage stuff at another time, but I appreciate talking sports movies with you, Joe.
Brother, I appreciate it. And I will share TJ's links. Please follow him. Please check out some of his podcasts, and we'll have him back soon. Have a great day, everyone.